It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports, Pete.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at a stop. I thought I was fine, and then once I got home, I realized it's a lot worse than I thought. I ended up having a ruptured disc. You say you're not hurting, and then an hour later, you're saying you're in all this pain. I just felt like most people would think that I was lying. And that's when I decided to call Daniel Stark. I owe a lot to Daniel Stark. They really got me what I deserved.
The difference is stark.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
Tervis is all about staying hydrated with style and durability. You can trust Tervis tumblers to keep your drinks the perfect temperature, hot or cold, for hours. From the classic insulated tumblers to sleek stainless steel water bottles, each product is built to last and comes in endless designs to match your personality. Stay refreshed and express yourself with Tervis. Visit tervis.com today and find your perfect tumbler.
Since our founding, we've been revolutionizing hair removal with cutting-edge technology and a commitment to empowerment. The U-Like Air 3, launched in 2023, ushers in a new era of sapphire ice cooling technology, offering nearly painless hair reduction in just 3 weeks. Experience the future of hair removal today at ulike.com, because at U-Like, beauty is about looking and feeling good. That's ulike.com. U-Like. With Ease US, make studio-quality voiceovers for your videos online in over 149 languages and dialects, featuring 468 natural AI voices. Customize the volume, mood, and pauses to perfectly match your content. Plus, capture high-quality videos with no watermark. Record your screen, webcam, and voice, and save them instantly to your computer. Never been easier to create professional-grade videos and voiceovers. Try it today at easeus.com. That's EASEUS.com. Ease US.
Just use AMP-Pace.
AMP-Pace.
It is the Pete Sousa Show. My name is Scotty Swingler here, coming to you live from the Alico building in Waco, Texas. So glad you've joined us. I am flying solo today, so if you see me looking down at the computer screen in front of me, it's because I'm producing the show as well as hosting it this morning. It's so good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us. A couple quick notes. We are brought to you by our friends at Extraco Bank, Socorro Family Ford, and don't forget, Daniel Stark Injury Attorneys. Thank you very much for sponsoring the Pete Sousa Show. And, of course, Slovaceks and West, if you're ever driving between Waco and DFW or anywhere else that has you going up and down I-35, don't forget to stop in West. Go see our friend Ray at Slovaceks. It will be well worth your time. Couple quick show notes for you, and then we're going to dive into a couple topics for today. Pete is out on vacation this week. Congrats, Pete. Enjoy your time off. He kept asking me, what can I do? And I said, bro, go enjoy your vacation. Very important to get away from work. Beginning of the summer here, good time. Generally a slower season in sports media, so happy Pete can take a week off. I'll be with you all week. Some show notes for you, though. We're going to have some blending of the show this week. I'll be doing a couple segments here and there. We'll be re-airing some stuff here and there. I'll keep you apprised to that each day. In addition, I think I will be fully hosting the show later in the week, perhaps Wednesday and Thursday. I want to talk a little college football. Shocker, right? I want to talk a little Baylor football. I think one of the things we might talk about later this week, will be college football 26. Some details starting to come out about EA's new game. I know we haven't talked a lot of gaming on this channel, but college football 26 ramping up to potentially be the game of the year. Certainly the biggest sports franchise game, I think, in the market right now after the successful relaunch of the brand last year with college football 25. I want to talk about that this week. So feel free to like and subscribe as you watch. We have gone from like 6,000 to over 23,000 subscribers in about 2 months. It's been incredible. Thank you so much for all your support. Comment along as you watch. I'll try to keep up with them as I'm live here if you want to chime into the show. So once again, Pete on vacation, Scotty riding shotgun. Here we go. Let's get started talking about the NBA Finals are set, and it is an untraditional looking NBA Finals. The Oklahoma City Thunder potentially winning their first NBA championship since the relocation from Seattle to Oklahoma City, and it is their first finals appearance. Right? I don't think Durant and those boys ever made a finals. And then Indiana, of course, with a chance to win their first finals in a historic franchise, one of the legacy franchises in my mind in the NBA. Of course, Indiana, a basketball state, to bring an NBA title home to Hoosier country would be quite something for the Pacers. This is a really important series for the NBA for a few reasons. Number one, we talked a couple weeks ago about how the ratings for the Western Conference Finals were struggling between the Thunder and the Timberwolves. Now, that was not a very good series. The Thunder kind of cleaned the T-Wolves' clock a little bit. Anthony Edwards underperformed in a lot of people's eyes, so the ratings were not very good. Is that a reflection of two smaller markets being in those games, or is that a reflection of a boring series? I'm not sure. Eastern Finals did a little better. Of course, you had the big brand, big city, big market New York Knicks in those Eastern Conference Finals, and the real question here, the NBA has experienced some, let's just say, cultural decline in the last few years, maybe less general public interest. I think that's fair to say in the last few years. You've had kind of the decline of what was a 2-decade era of star power between LeBron James, over this last decade, Steph Curry, that kind of old guard of superstar fading away, Russell Westbrook, James Harden, Kawhi Leonard. That era of players is aging out quickly. And it seems as though these stars who have risen to take their place have all been European guys. Now, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, an exception to that, he's a Canadian, but Jokic, Giannis, Luka, right? This new wave of basketball superstar that has come up is largely European. I think we're now at year 6 or 7 of a non-American winning the NBA MVP, with Shai winning it this year, again, a Canadian. So the NBA has a lack of cultural influence, perhaps. Some might say a lack of star power, or at least relatable star power, with a lack of a true American star. I think some have tried to propel Anthony Edwards into that position. I'm going to talk in a minute about why maybe Tyrese Halliburton could claim that. Jason Tatum has kind of laid claim to that at points, but perhaps unsuccessfully in many instances. This series is really fascinating. So, you have two small market teams in the finals. And what is that going to do for the overall ratings of these NBA finals? Are people going to engage with that because it's interesting? Or are people going to check out of that because, let's just be honest, there's not nearly as many Indiana Pacers or Oklahoma City Thunder fans as there are Knicks fans Heat fans, Lakers fans, even Golden State Warriors fans. I'm really intrigued to see how the numbers come in, the ratings come in for this NBA Finals for that reason. But then the other reason, I just talked about star power. Somebody is going to be anointed as the new face of the NBA in these finals. Suspicions are it might be Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, NBA MVP. Could he also win a Finals MVP and a Finals trophy in the next couple weeks? Maybe that propels him to be the new face of the league. Again, a Canadian, not an American. Maybe not what all NBA fans are looking for, but certainly more relatable, I think, to the common American than Joker, right? And perhaps filling that void left behind as LeBron and Steph and Kawhi and that era of players age out. But I'm also interested in how lopsided this finals is projected to be. If you look at the odds right now for these finals, this is staggering for a championship, by the way, in any sport. The Thunder are minus 700 to win the finals. The Pacers plus 500. Again, if you're unfamiliar with sports betting, that means if you bet $1,000 on the Thunder and they win, you could win $700. You can't even double your money. But if you bet $100 on the Pacers to win, you could win $500 if they win. That is how lopsided this series is, the Thunder being favored. Sports Illustrated said over the weekend that there is an 88% chance for the Thunder to win these finals. 88% in a championship. And the Thunder are already 9-point favorites for Game 1 on Wednesday night. This is a lopsided. So again, this is a strange NBA Finals, not only because it's two teams that haven't been there, not only because it's two small market teams, but because you might have the next face of the league, the next superstar anointing happening here, and because it's so lopsided. The Thunder are so heavily favored. My dad asked me over the weekend, who do you like in the finals? And I said, man, my heart says Pacers, my head says Thunder. They have just seemed to be unbeatable all season long, and now it appears that Vegas agrees that they are going to be unbeatable in these NBA Finals. I could see this series going to 7, or I think a lot of people could see the Thunder winning it in 5. But that is why, and I did this a couple weeks ago, and I'm just going to double down, and we'll talk about it more Wednesday with somebody else. I'm just doubling down that Americans writ large should be rooting for the Pacers in this series. If you have no rooting interest in these finals, which a lot of Americans don't, you should just get on board with the Indiana Pacers. Primarily because you need to get on board with the movie script magic that is happening right in front of our eyes for one Tyrese Halliburton. I am devastated that Tyrese Halliburton didn't win Eastern Conference MVP. All credit and love to Pascal Siakam, who got one more vote than Halliburton did to win that award. But Tyrese Halliburton is on about a 13-month tear that is, you could not write this in a Hollywood script and have people tell you it's believable. If you wrote this for a Hollywood, let's say Disney sports movie, if you wrote this for a Disney Plus fictional series, you would get laughed out of the room for writing something that audiences could not believe. Let's quickly look at the Tyrese Halliburton timeline over the past 13 months. I think this is better than any sports movie I've ever watched, with maybe the exception of Hoosiers, which is appropriate because Tyrese is an Indiana Pacer. Look at this timeline. On April 17th last year, Tyrese was named to the United States Olympic team, with a lot of fans and sports media saying, how the heck did he make that roster? Less than a week later, The Athletic puts out a yearly poll that they do of NBA players. They do this every year. They've already released a new one for 2025. In 2024, they polled 90 NBA players. And of those 90 players who voted, they voted Tyrese Halliburton the most overrated player in the NBA. He received that, barely getting more votes than Trae Young and Rudy Gobert. By the way, my vote would have been for Trae Young, not that it matters. He is voted the most overrated player in the NBA. Then he goes to the Olympics, where he played the least minutes on the team. Derek White played more minutes in the Olympics than Tyrese Halliburton. He played 26 minutes across all Olympic competition for the United States. He got his gold medal. He said in interviews it was great to be on the squad, great experience, glad he got to go, but least minutes on Team USA. Then, the most talked about story for Tyrese Halliburton for the first half of the playoffs wasn't even about Tyrese Halliburton. It was about his father being a bonehead and getting in Giannis. I can't even say Giannis' last name, Zach. I'm not even going to try. Zach Burke has joined me since I said I was flying solo. Giannis' face and creating a scene and getting suspended for 8 games. That was the story for Tyrese Halliburton at the beginning of these playoffs. But what has he done in these playoffs? Nobody's talking about this, or not enough people, in my opinion, are talking about this. 1, he has hit a game-winning or game-extending, buzzer-beating shot in every series. He hit a game winner against the Bucks, he hit a game winner against the Cavs, and he hit a big 3 to take a game to overtime, which they won against the Knicks. So we talk about what makes an NBA superstar. And to me, what a lot of these arguments come down to is what can you do in the clutch? Who's going to take the final shot? That's why people, Michael Jordan is mythical for so many people, and LeBron James is not, because Michael Jordan took the game-winning shots. We saw him make those. Kobe Bryant was known for doing that, even though he made a pretty low percentage of them if you actually look at the statistics. But they took the game-winning shots. That's the guy you wanted with the ball. LeBron James notoriously gets mocked because he is dished a lot of times in game-winning moments. He will drive and kick. Kyrie Irving hit the big 3 to beat the Golden State Warriors after LeBron's chase down block. You'll remember, I think that was 2016. So Tyrese is doing what superstars do. He has not had all 30-point games in these playoffs. He's had a couple games, we've talked about it on this show, where he's laid an egg scoring-wise. But when the game comes down to the wire, despite having Pascal Siakam, the Indiana Pacers give the ball to Tyrese. Tyrese is the guy taking the shot. And then last Tuesday, he was the 3rd player ever to have a 35-15-10 game in the postseason with only Jokic and Oscar Robertson. Hello, Hall of Fame company. But he was the first player to do it with no turnovers. And he's a point guard. He is handling the ball every possession for the Pacers. And he went 35, 15, and 10 in Game 4 and had no turnovers. And we're acting like he's still an above-average okay player. This is a superstar making a statement 13 months after he was named the most overrated player in the NBA. He beats the best record in the NBA, the Cleveland Cavaliers, or best record in the Eastern Conference. He beats Jalen Brunson, who was the darling clutch player for most of these playoffs, beats Jalen Brunson's New York Knicks. Now he's in the finals. And again, the odds are minus 700 for the Thunder to win these finals. The odds, according to Sports Illustrated, are 88% in Oklahoma City's favor. And Tyrese Halliburton could complete the greatest storybook run we've ever seen in the NBA if the Indiana Pacers are somehow able to beat the Thunder in 4 of these games, and especially if he takes home a Finals MVP trophy. I cannot think of a better sports movie. I can't think of one. Zach, do you have your camera on? I'm going to let Zach Burke chime in on this real quick, and then we'll take a break. Take your time. Turn on your microphone and chime in on this. Is there a better story in any sports movie that you can think of than if Tyrese, I know that's an if, but if Tyrese were somehow able to win these finals and get the MVP, is there a better story? It would be a
tough.
It would be a 14-month time period from
That's true.
most overrated to finals MVP.
Yeah. And I thought, wasn't he also most overrated this year too?
Oh, I don't know that.
Hold on.
I didn't look at
up
this year's poll. I thought about doing that before.
Anyway, I didn't want to do that. But
I don't think I'm subscribed to the Athletic.
I'm not either. I'll have to figure out how to get past.
I hope not.
I hope not either. But yeah, no. If that's the trajectory of where it's like all, because the thing is, listening to you talk about the Olympic and how the Olympic Games and how little playing time he got. I remember his tweet afterwards of him with the gold medal.
Yes.
And it was like,
Yes.
you know, being on the, what was it? Being in the group, but doing or the group project,
Yeah,
but doing none of the work.
Yeah.
And like, so he himself was just like, he knew.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously, if you're any competitor like that, you go there. And one of the things, this is just funny to me, and it for some reason made me think of it, and I won't take too much time with it, but something that happened in my, you know, I guess when I was getting really big into the NBA was the Redeem team in 2008.
Yeah.
And there was a time when a guy by the name of Gilbert Arenas was told essentially like, hey, your ankle's not doing too well. If you want to just go back, like you were on the bubble anyway. We were thinking of not like having you on the team. And that sparked something in that man where he went on and he put up like 60 against, you know, LeBron, 70 against Kobe. Like he went on a tour of like, okay, I'm not good enough. I'll show you about that. And it makes me think of, not saying that that's necessarily a sense of, you know, he hasn't come out and said that, but if I'm Tyrese Halliburton and I get voted most overrated and I'm on the, you know, Olympic team and I get the fewest playing time, no disrespect to Derek White, but I just got to think Derek White is a phenomenal player that is very underrated. But, and I get, you know, Derek White outplays me in a way. Like I think that I'm one of the stars of the league. Okay. Like stuff like that starts to sit with me. And I don't necessarily need to go out and tell everybody about it, but I just start making a list. And I go through and I start checking it off.
Yep.
And I just start showing people of like, oh, we play basketball in Indiana. So yes, I think that it is a phenomenal story then to see of where it was to where it is. And if it's a big if, because it's a very massive Oklahoma Thunder shaped problem in his way.
Yep.
But I think that if he's able to finish, a phenomenal story from start to finish. And I can't really think of another movie that kind of has that same kind of thing.
It is. It would. You could not get the script through to a studio. I'm convinced it would sound too fake. Most overrated player, doesn't play in the Olympics. 14 months after he's voted most overrated, he's winning the Finals MVP. That's ridiculous. It's crazy. So my pitch to you is simply, if you're like me, and Thunder Pacers does nothing for you as a fan, like nothing. Like I'm a Mavs guy who's transplanted to the Lakers with Luka. Like this does nothing for me. Okay. There's not like I can't even hate any of these either. I don't hate either of these teams. I don't love either of these teams. They're the Pacers and the Thunder. Great. Dude, get on this train. Root for the storybook ending. Tyrese Halliburton, I want to see him complete this trek. I just want to see him get to the finish line. Even if they don't, even if they lose to the Thunder, it's been a phenomenal season. He has proven that he belongs in the superstar conversation, upper echelon of the league. Should never be voted overrated again by any measure. But it would be something if he can complete this run. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I want to give a quick, kind of somber word, to be honest with you, about John Brenkus, who passed away over the weekend. That story kind of all over this morning. I want to make a quick comment. Then we're going to air a couple segments with Pete, since he's out this week. And that'll do it for our show. But stick with us. We'll come right back, talk about John Brenkus, and then tell you what else is going on today. This is the Pete Sousa Show on the Rogue Sports Network.
Did you know nearly all stock price changes of 10% or more result from a single news headline? These news catalysts create trading opportunities every day. All you need is a little help to reach out and take them. It doesn't matter if your investment budget is small or big. All you need is Benzinga Pro and its powerful news alerts, price tracking, and portfolio monitoring. Subscribe now, and we'll skyrocket your portfolio today.
OsleyMD.com. I've always had thin hair my whole life. It breaks off at a certain length. In the last 6 months, I've noticed it just really bad. I mean, you could totally see it. I wear a hat a lot. I tried several different products. My experience with the Bosley MD hair regrowth kit was amazing. It was easy to use. It let me take off my hat. I could go in public and have my picture taken and feel normal again.
OsleyMD.com.
Golf Partner, the world's largest golf store network, offers more purchasing opportunities than anywhere else. With a dominant market share and a wider selection of quality secondhand golf clubs than our competitors, we make it easy for you to enjoy the game with affordable, top-quality equipment. Join us at golfpartnerusa.com and discover why we're the trusted choice for golf lovers worldwide. That's GOLFPARTNERUSA.com. Golf Partner.
Since 2003, Bluehost has been empowering people to harness their brands online with innovative web hosting solutions. Trusted by over 2 million users, we're the longest-running WordPress.org recommended host. With Bluehost, you get a safer, better web experience, supported by the world's most popular site builder, and backed by our commitment to open source projects. Visit Bluehost.com today and take your website to the next level.
Experience the future of secure private cloud storage with Internex. Protect your files with end-to-end encryption, ensuring your data stays private and accessible only to you. Enjoy seamless, fast storage without compromising security. Visit Internex.com today and take control of your digital life. That's INTERNXT.com today.
Apollo Neuro is a new kind of wearable that helps your body recover from stress. It's like a wearable hug for your nervous system that helps you calm down and feel better. The Apollo wearable will send gentle vibrations to your body, like a song you can feel instead of hear. You feel better. You sleep better. And you can get back to being yourself. Learn more at apolloneuro.com.
Protect your online privacy with NordVPN. Browse securely, access content from anywhere, and keep your data safe with military-grade encryption. Whether at home or on the go, NordVPN ensures your digital freedom. Stay secure. Download NordVPN today at nordvpn.com. That's NORDVPN.com. Elevate your experience with Brenkus Science, the leaders in cutting-edge vaporizers. Whether you're at home or on the go, our sleek, powerful devices deliver smooth, consistent hits every time. Quality you can trust, innovation you can feel. Brenkus Science. Take your vapor game to the next level. Visit us at grenkoscience.com.
It all began with a simple idea, cutting handles off old ski sticks to create better pull-up bars. This sparked the creation of the revolutionary Engels 90 handles. After testing over 70 prototypes with 300 athletes, our patented handles were launched in 2018. We continue to push the boundaries of strength training. Join us in making your training more natural and effective. Visit Engels90.com to learn more and revolutionize your workout.
Welcome back. Pete Sousa Show on the Rogue Sports Network. Thanks again to Daniel Stark, Slovachex, Extraco, and Sakura for their sponsorship. Pete on vacation. Scotty Swingler with you. Zach Burke sitting in with me today. We're going to run a couple segments in a second. I'll tell you about that so you can hear from Pete all week as well. I did want to address this for a couple reasons. One, we've kind of seen a falling off of some really, what I would just call like staples of ESPN with, we talked a couple weeks ago about Around the Horn coming to an end after a 25-year run. And John Brenkus passed away over the weekend. If you're unfamiliar, he was the sports science guy that started on Fox Sports and spent a lot of time on ESPN starting in 2007. It was a segment that would air on SportsCenter. I read he did over 1,800 of these sports science segments in his time at ESPN. It's an impressive legacy. I want to read the statement that his family put out, and then I want to make just a couple comments about it because I think it's important, and then we'll hear from Pete for today. So here's the statement from Brenkus' family. It says, "It is with profound sadness that we share the news that John Brenkus has passed away. John, co-founder of Base Productions, founder of Brinks.tv, and co-creator and host of the 6-time Emmy Award-winning Sports Science, had been battling depression. John lost his fight with this terrible illness on May 31st, 2025. His heartbroken family and friends request privacy at this time and encourage anyone who is struggling with depression to seek help. That's the statement put on social media from John Brenkus' family. I wanted to reflect on that. Part of what I love about this show and working with Pete is how honest and open Pete is about his sobriety, his journey to sobriety, what it's like to be an addict, and to go through recovery and all those things. It's important to talk about things that afflict all of us and that for so long have been maybe socially awkward or even like kind of frowned upon to speak about. And I want to commend John Brenkus' family for the statement. It would be really easy, and nobody would blame any family for just putting out a short John Brenkus passed. We asked for privacy at this time. Thank you for remembering his legacy. Nobody would bat an eye if that was the statement. But they chose to put out a statement, and it's why I'm choosing to address it in this way, that specifically cited John's struggle with depression and that is what led to his death. And that's tragic and sad, and I just wanted to comment on it because that is something I struggle with. It's something I think a lot of people struggle with, and they specifically said in the statement, if you or your loved ones are struggling with depression, reach out for help. And I just wanted to, in an effort to honor John and honor his family and maybe honor you if you're watching, I just wanted to echo that sentiment, that it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to speak to professionals, to religious leaders. It's okay to get on medication if you need to. It's not weird. It took me 31 years to get on medication, and I should have been on several years before that. Depression, we're learning more and more about these mental health struggles, what they do to our brains. It's real, it's physical. It's not that you can't control your feelings. It's not that you're broken or messed up. It is an illness like anything else. And it needs to be treated. And it's unfortunate that despite, I think, a lot more awareness of these things than we had 10 years ago, it is still socially weird. I don't know why I lost my camera. That was weird. Well, yeah, that's awkward. Sorry for doing that right in the middle of our heart-to-heart here. I got it back. Don't know what happened. Maybe a cable got loose. Anyway, despite better awareness, I think, of these things than we had 10 years ago, it's sad how often they still create awkwardness or social stigma. And I just wanted to double down on the message because I've been there. I've been there very like in a very real way, tangibly in the past 8-9 months. I just want to triple down on the message that the Brenkus family put out. If you need help, get help. John Brenkus' life wasn't valuable because he did a segment on ESPN. Pete Sousa's life is not valuable because you watch him on YouTube. Your life is valuable because you're a person. And there are people that love you, even if you don't feel like there are. And that's what I wanted to say today. I hope that's what we learn from this tragic passing. And I thought that would honor the family if we just said that on this show. And thanks for giving me the space to say that. And Pete the space to talk about what he goes through and a community where we can just be real about what's going on in life. So I was saddened to see that. John Brenkus started on ESPN in 2007. That's right when I was going into high school and really, really, really falling in love with sports and sports media. And really sad to see him go at 54, way too young. We will be praying for and thinking about his family. Because I knew that I was going to address that today, as I was putting together these segments so we can hear from Pete each day, I wanted to go ahead and put together some other reflections we've had in similar veins, though certainly not equivalent. So in just a second, I'm going to roll. We had a conversation a week and a half ago about the conclusion of ESPN's Around the Horn. Pete and I had a really good back and forth on that, so we're going to play that clip. We'll take a quick break. And then Pete talked last week about the Brett Favre documentary on Netflix and Brett Favre's struggles with gambling, with some other things, texting and pursuing women and money laundering and just real life stuff. So we're going to play the Around the Horn segment. We're going to play the Brett Favre segment, get Pete's thoughts on that. And that'll be it for today's show. I'll check back in with you tomorrow. Again, Pete out on vacation this week. We'll have some full shows later in the week so that I can talk to you a little bit more. But that's going to be it for me today. We're going to run these 2 segments. I hope you'll stick with us, and I hope you'll join us tomorrow. This is the Pete Sousa Show on the Rogue Sports Network. Stay with us.
Big day for Scotty. And around the horn, it's its last episode now. And Scotty, I swear, I'm not going to be a prick about this, but you are officially the only person I know, and I like you a lot. You're the only person I know that is upset about Around the Horn going off the air.
Well,
so tell me why.
That surprises me. You should reach out to more of your journalist buddies.
Tell me why. Tell me why Around the Horn means so much to you.
Yeah, and I texted some buddies about this just to corroborate that my experience was not unique. And
I wasn't on the chain,
and it was
obviously.
not, right? So Around the Horn's been around 23 years, and I am 32 years old. So since I was 8 or 9 years old, Around the Horn's been on TV. This was mandatory after-school viewing for me, starting in about 4th or 5th grade. I would get home from school about 4 o'clock, and it was immediately, if I could get my hands on the remote, Around the Horn and PTI. That's how I got hooked on sports media, sports content, professional sports outside of, I grew up watching the Rangers and the Cowboys, but outside of that little bubble, totally Around the Horn was one of my gateways into this sports media world. And as I started becoming interested in doing this as a career, Around the Horn is so unique because it highlights journalists. It gave these newspaper columnists and writers this platform to demonstrate their acuity, to give you stories from where it's happening, whether it's Chicago, New York. I was introduced to Tim Kalishaw through Around the Horn to get my Dallas stuff, but also Jackie McMullen, Woody Page, right? All these legendary writers I got to know and started consuming their content because I was exposed to them on Around the Horn. So I think it's really unique in that perspective. They were doing the debate thing better than First Take or anyone else way before the debate format kind of overtook the network.
Yeah.
I think Tony Reale, I've watched several interviews
let's
with him
talk about
week.
your boy Reale.
Yeah. I've watched several interviews with him this week talking about this. I think he is uniquely charismatic and gifted and optimistic in a way that's attractive and makes him a good host. I told you, just all my vents out of the way, I'm a little pissed off that supposedly he went to ESPN saying, hey, can we move towards YouTube? Can we modify the show? Can I do more to make it better? And they were like, nah, we're cool. And then kind of behind his back, they were getting ready to take it off the air, even though it's still doing really good ratings for an afternoon block.
Good?
According to I think Washington Post article I read, it is still doing really good ratings.
And by the way, I can say this. I don't know how ESPN operates with that. That's something I know nothing about. Like, I know about my little corner of the world over there. But a lot of times, like, let's say in local markets, whether like in Philadelphia, we had the great sports debate, right? That would be on Prism, our like local sports channel. And then it was on Comcast Sports Network. And another iteration, the name had changed, but it was a bunch of journalists sitting around yelling about sports. But it was clear to me those guys didn't get paid. It was like a promotional opportunity for them. And every sports writer, especially back then, wants to crawl out of their cave and be on TV.
Yeah.
So I don't even know. My point is, I don't know how much overhead went into Around
I don't
the Horn.
either.
I can't imagine it was like an expensive show.
I do know Tony Reale.
Obviously, he's salary.
This was in the Washington Post article I read. He has not taken a raise in a long time and is actually making still less than $1 million a year because he wanted to keep the show on the air. I did read that Woody Page has actually made more money off that show than Tony Reale because they pay him so much per episode. Okay. And he's obviously on just about.
Woody was part of the first crew.
He's been on the whole way.
2003?
Yeah, somewhere in there. He's been 02, I think.
02 it started, right?
Yeah.
So he was part of the original
He's been
cast.
on the whole way, right. So second most appearances and second most wins is Tim Kalishaw from Dallas.
Now, that's our guy.
Yeah.
Kalishaw is amazing. I love Kalishaw because he's sober, but also Kalishaw is, I did feel, and this is like the get off my lawn.
Yeah, come on.
This is the get off my lawn.
Come on.
I felt like we lost some of the TJ Simers or the like you said, Woody Pages or Ron Borges, old guy from Boston, like some of the crusty guys for this new wave of writers who, for whatever the reason, and because times are different, the show took on a more political tone, and time over time, and a lot of times, every time you were giving somebody their final, what was it called, like the last whatever?
FaceTime, right?
Your FaceTime,
or the last word or whatever.
Yeah, whatever it was, like they go on a 30-second political rant. Like, and I'll tell you, look no further than, and this is a great example of how, like, I don't let politics, like, or try not to, like, eat me up. So I love Kate Fagan. She was a beat writer for the Sixers when I worked in Philly. Kate and I are definitely, like, probably not aligned politically. And the last episode she was on, she talked about trans kids should play. Like, I don't agree with that, but, like, I still love Kate. And I'm just like, you know what? But I think that type of voice can be just totally hyperbolic for some people at home.
Yeah, but it's unfortunate if we live in it, because they asked him briefly. I watched his realities interview on Dan Patrick this week, and they asked him something about the politics and the stuff.
Yeah,
and he said, all we've done is let people talk, like you said, on the last word, and I don't hit the mute button.
No,
he's like, I'm not making a statement. ESPN's not making a statement. So it's kind of sad to me if we can't, and I'm not accusing you of this.
No.
If we can't, as a society, let individuals say, this is how I feel.
Yeah.
And say, like you just did, oh, that's Kate Fagan's take.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't disagree more, but I love Kate.
Right.
Like, whatever.
That's fine. That's not, that to me, if that's a reason we can't watch television, the last word, thank you, Scotty B. If that's a reason we can't watch TV anymore, like, that's just sad to me. But
but I do think.
But part of what's fun, again, part of the fun of this show is you're getting to know the journalists.
Yeah.
And so, like, some of them have takes we disagree with politically or otherwise.
Yeah.
But, like, these journalists were allowed to come on to the biggest sports network in the world, give their opinions, share who they are. And I feel like most of America, especially my age, who grew up with Woody Page on there every day, we feel like Woody Page is our crazy uncle.
Oh, for sure.
And it's awesome. Like, I don't think journalism has been highlighted on a national level like that in many places. I think, like, maybe like 60 Minutes in a sense, or some other, but in terms of sports journalists writing around the country, it's just the death of that era, right? As we move more into influencer YouTube era.
I think there was also, and this happens a lot in sports media today, and I've even been party of this on the right end or the wrong end. People really aren't cutting their teeth before they're going right on television. So, and what I mean by that is, as a kid growing up watching the sports reporters on ESPN, right? It was Dick Schaap, Jackie McMullen, Bob Ryan, Mitch Albom. These are guys who had been writing for decades at the time. Right. And had, like, been in every locker room. I mean, they knew everything about everything, at least appeared. And they were such blowhards in an affectionate way that it certainly appeared that they did. I think that the new, like, they putting people on there, like, Sarah Spain, like, let's say, just for a bad example, for instance, like, 3 years out of college, like, putting her right on the air. Like, I felt like was a little bit of, okay, if now you're going to get these people who are coming, go tell them on the Mount style with whatever they feel, whether it's sports or whether it is politics, that there's it, and this is like, I'm just giving you, like, the devil's advocate. There's a sticker shock or an eye test that isn't passed there because some of these people were so young. So I believe there was a disconnect, and I think at some point it got, and I don't like this term, it got labeled as woke, and, like, I think that was, like, the death nail, and it's everything that you're not talking about, by the way. Like, you are talking about the good stuff, and why you loved it. But I think from a broader stroke, right? I think that's what happened to the show.
Well, I think that's
your rebuttal. What do you have?
My rebuttal is, A, I think that's unfortunate. B, ESPN has never had a problem with other hosts and other shows making opinions known about whatever the politics of the day. So I don't know that that's reason to cancel a show at ESPN based on precedent. But mostly I would say, I would encourage everybody, by the way, anybody watching, go watch any of Reality's interviews this week.
He's an amazing guy.
Or read that Washington Post article because he gets asked all of this. Everything you just mentioned. He gets asked about, hey, you're bringing on some influencers now, not just the journalist. Hey, I think Dan Patrick, again, that was like a 40-minute conversation. Asked him, like, hey, so some people say you talk about politics too much and you've gone woke, blah, blah, blah. And he responds to that. So, like, I can't respond as well as he can respond. But I found his answers to be, I mean, exactly what you want to hear if you're ESPN or if you're a viewer. Okay,
anyway. You mentioned our boy Kalashaw.
Yeah.
Who was your, like, do you have an underrated favorite? Somebody who's like, not maybe quite the household name, like not the J.A. Adonde, but somebody.
Oh man, I like J.A. Adonde. Hold on.
I love J.A. Adonde.
Let me look at my list here again, and I'll tell you because
I'm looking at some of the names.
When I was a kid growing up watching, like Kalashaw was my favorite just because I was living here in Waco and he was up in Dallas.
T.J. Simers, Jay Mariotti. Now Mariotti was amazing.
He was,
and he got in some domestic thing.
Yeah, he got
and he disappeared. He was like so excitable and always had good points. The Chicago thing came through. His eyebrows, I remember being like, "What the hell is going on with those?" But it was theater every day. And it started off with Max Kellerman as the host, and Kellerman did a fantastic job. Remember, Reale was Stat Boy and to me too, that was one thing. It wasn't like ESPN or anybody asked me to pick a side, but I was so head over heels for Pardon the Interruption that that was my.
Well, and they're keeping that one.
Yeah, of course they are.
Well, I would say they should keep this too.
Oh,
so I will tell you the two and you may not like either of these people on the show. The two that I really like, looking through this list again, and besides the big names, right? I love Jackie McMullen. I love Tim Kalashaw. Woody Page is a legend. I really, and I've told you this before, I think Mina Kimes is just so good every time she's on TV.
She's amazing.
So good.
Yeah.
Like by far to me the best woman in the space who like freaking knows football.
Dude, she's done. I was lucky enough to go visit my brother a couple years ago when it was Rams preseason, and she was doing analysis. She was like the color analyst in the booth for Rams preseason games, and she was awesome. My brother Kev loved her.
Yeah.
Like she's really good.
I would say Mina, and then the other one that I don't know what he's doing anymore because that show with Jamel Smith was so bad. I like Michael Smith.
Yeah, he was great.
And when he was on Around the Horn, he was always really entertaining.
Yeah, he was. And the thing about Michael Smith, there's a line with Michael Smith, like he would really get pissed. Like he would go into the red. Like if somebody would challenge him, and like it's funny, it goes back to like the RG3 Ryan Clark thing.
Gosh.
Like if he sensed like you were at all drifting towards like the personal space, he would like just shut you down. And I used to think like this guy's a badass. And Michael Smith is a great example because as young as he was thrust into the Patriots locker room as a beat reporter for the Pats, like the Bill Belichick Patriots. So like you want to talk about a guy who earned his stripes.
Right.
And that was a bummer what happened to him and Jamel Hill with that Sports Center on the 6.
Let's check in with some comments.
Is King there?
King is here.
He is. Okay, let's do some comments and then we'll get to the great King McClure.
We'll get King McClure. So Scotty B says Tony Reale will be fine. He will find somewhere else. I'm confident he will do something. I hope. He was talking about
he's going to be fine.
He was talking about he's looking at like game show hosting. I really want to keep him in the sports world somehow, some way. I hope it's a sports gig.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at a stop. I thought I was fine, and then once I got home, I realized it's a lot worse than I thought. I ended up having a ruptured disc. You say you're not hurting, and then an hour later, you're saying you're in all this pain. I just felt like most people would think that I was lying. And that's when I decided to call Daniel Stark. I owe a lot to Daniel Stark. They really got me what I deserved.
The difference is stark.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
I
don't know, if Bubble wasn't here, I don't know what people would be doing, like making PowerPoints or something. Bubble allows you to make it real and for it to actually work. So I feel like Bubble bridges that gap and being able to give people the opportunity to make their ideas come to life really quickly too. I love that I can sit down and build something the way that I think it should be built and have the control over it.
Bubble turns ideas into fully scalable apps. Try Bubble today.
Hi, I'm Jo from Face Theory. You're going to want to have a specific goal for your skincare routine. What do you want to achieve? Active ingredients are really strong, and if you're using too many at once, your skin can get overwhelmed. Don't overspend on products. Choose products that have scientific research behind them. At Face Theory, if you're not happy with a product, just say so, just give us a shout and we'll give you your money back, no problem.
I know you're gonna love this Kodak Dot Plus printer. You guys just connect it to your smartphone and then you're gonna use the Kodak Photo Print app. It's going to print you a 4x6 photo. I am just in awe. I love how these turned out. Also, the printer comes with a free cartridge of 10 photo sheets. I can assure you, you are going to love this printer as much as my family has. You guys have to check it out for yourself.
Streamline event and appointment booking with Amelia's sleek, modern, and fully customizable booking forms. Tailor the colors, fonts, and design to match your brand and seamlessly integrate with your WordPress website. Whether it's for events or appointments, Amelia makes booking simple, stylish, and perfectly aligned with your business. Enhance your booking experience today at WPAmelia.com. That's WPAMELIA.com. Amelia.
When you learn a language with Babbel, you start a journey that takes you further and further. Anytime and anywhere you wish. It's easy and fun. Broadens your horizons and keeps your brain fit. A journey into new thoughts, new cultures, new adventures. So what are you waiting for? Start your journey with Babbel now. Go to babbel.com or download the app.
BadCreditLoans.com is a pioneering service provider that has carved a reputation in the financial industry for its dedication to helping individuals with bad credit secure loans. By making timely repayments, borrowers can gradually repair their credit history, thereby increasing their chances of securing better loan terms in the future. BadCreditLoans.com serves as a beacon of hope for those with bad credit. Simple, fast, and reliable loan application process. And its commitment to responsible borrowing makes it a trusted partner in the journey towards financial stability.
All right, so let's start off though where I got to start because it's been on my mind for a while. I've been looking forward to the untold Fall of Favre, the Brett Favre documentary that I watched starting yesterday and then finished watching it last night. Okay, only an hour, really comprehensive topic. Only an hour is not enough, really. There were no brand new revelations in this documentary. Favre did not participate in it. So, you know, you could say if you're like a Brett Favre supporter or apologist, like it was a glorified hit piece. I will say the Jeff Pearlman book, Gunslinger, probably this time last year, I just finished it. I listen to these books. I always wish I could say, oh, I read it. I can't say that. I try to maybe stick to I think at cocktail parties, you should just say oh, I just finished the book. Yeah, I'll say that. I finished it last year. Right? That works, Scotty. Maybe I read it, maybe I didn't, but I definitely finished it. And afterwards, or I even think before I started to read the book, Jeff Pearlman, who was obviously the author of the book Gunslinger, made a statement, and Jeff can be a little, he's a kind of guy I would talk to and love up and down every day. Politically, I don't necessarily believe that we totally align, but I don't care. It doesn't make him a bad dude or any less of a brilliant writer. But after the welfare scandal really broke in Louisiana, Pearlman was like, hey, do me a favor, don't read my book about Brett Favre. He was like, I kind of canonized the guy because he has had such an amazing career on the field, And honestly, off the field, he went through some personal struggles that like you could really look at and say, man, this guy is a survivor, right? And when there was a fork in the road with him, addiction-wise, he went the right way, cleaned his life up. But Perlman was like, with this welfare scandal thing, what happened in Mississippi where there was misappropriation of welfare funds to allegedly build a Southern Mississippi volleyball arena where Brett Favre's daughter was playing volleyball at the time. There was just so much evidence and smoke that Favre had done wrong in that situation. And then that forced Perlman to sort of expound on what happened with Jen Sturger. And that's what this documentary gets into a lot. Jen Sturger was in 2005. She's at a Florida State football game, Florida State-Miami. And my man Musburger was at it again. This is actually before he talked about, what was her name? Catherine, the quarterback of Alabama. I forget anyways, you know what I'm talking about. When the quarterback of Alabama's girlfriend was spotted in the crowd of the Orange Bowl when it was Notre Dame, Alabama. And Brett Favre said, every young guy in America is outside throwing the football, trying to become a quarterback, basically sort of creepily commenting on how gorgeous she was. And he did the same thing with Jen Sturger 7 years earlier. ABC comes back from break and they have this picture of Jen Sturger. She's in the front row with the cowboy hat on. Obviously very attractive young woman. And Brett Musburger says, wow, hey, enrollment just went up 1,500 at Florida State. As everybody's online applying. Who wouldn't want to go to school there? But Jen Sturger actually leaned into it. And she was like, hey, that was an opportunity for me. I wanted to get into sports broadcasting. I never really thought I'd have the chance. She was at the very forefront of like social media. Like apparently, according to this documentary, like she was the first person ever to have like her Facebook friends like maxed out. All this kind of crazy stuff was going on. So Sturger now is like, sort of like high profile, right? She does spreads in Maxim and in Playboy, and then ultimately in Sports Illustrated. She works for SI.com. Well, her path crosses with Brett Favre in 2008, I guess it was. And basically Favre just like hits on her incessantly and kind of won't take no for an answer. And he hits on her like over the phone, text messages, leaving her voicemails. And then he finally sends her a picture of his of his thingy. And by the way, like, I don't know why people do that. Look, let's not get into a referendum on that, but I don't think any woman really is dying to see that. Not the most attractive thing on any of us, but whatever. So she gets that and she was totally spooked. But she doesn't say anything about it, really. I mean, she keeps it to herself, tells a couple friends, whatever. She's doing some work with Deadspin a couple years later, and she's talking to this guy, AJ, I think, Delario, he's a Philly guy, but he was the guy who ran Deadspin. And she mentions this thing. They were talking about players sending pics of their privates to, unsuspecting women, or, trying to hit on them. And she says, that doesn't even compare to what happened to me. She's telling AJ this. And so AJ, basically, who at the time, he has since said, was addicted to drugs and in a dark place in his life, he actually gets a third party, like a friend of hers, or I don't know how, to get all the information, all the text messages, all the pictures, whatever. And he runs a story. And basically, this Jen Sturger had said, this is off the record, dude. Well, AJ runs the story, Deadspin, it goes crazy, right? And so Brett Favre is being asked, when he played for the Vikings at the time now, he's moved on, hey, what about this? Did you have anything to do with this? The NFL is investigating, and he was just like, I'm not answering any questions. And the dude totally skated on it. The NFL fined him $50,000 for not participating in the investigation. And this is a guy, too, part of the reverence I have for Favre, and a lot of other people do, too, is because he beat, on the field, he was a gunslinger. He gave fans and teams that he played for more than they bargained for. And he was so amazing. And his arm was like a rocket launcher. And I recommend watching the documentary, if nothing else, for the old footage of him playing at Southern Miss and early in the NFL. And he didn't play at all with the Falcons. And part of the reason was, as it was sort of revealed, that like he had a drinking problem. And that turned into a prescription drug addiction, which eventually, reportedly, he totally kicked, which almost makes this Sturger thing a little worse because he's not like a drunk guy. The consequences are consequences, and it's wrong regardless. But it's not like he's wasted sending her these pictures or anything. Apparently, this guy at this point in his life is stone sober, right? And ultimately, Jen Sturger's life, as she put it, like he ruins my life because this came out, now she's the woman who got the dick pic from Brett Favre, and Favre just kind of moves on in his life. He's inducted into the Hall of Fame. He's celebrated at every turn. And there had been other stuff about Brett Favre too, like, obviously extramarital affairs, which is nothing new or sensational for pro athletes, but it's crappy behavior. And it's a bummer, right? Especially when it was done so openly. And again, Favre was married during this whole scandal. And then the welfare thing comes up. And that is like, there's a lot of evidence, and he hasn't been charged yet, but there's like a ton of evidence to say that Brett Favre basically used the good old boy network in Mississippi to get a building built for Southern Miss volleyball. And he knew that the funds were supposed to be appropriated for people on welfare. I mean, and I'm sure there's another side to the story that Brett Favre and his attorneys have threatened just about everybody that has gone forward with trying to prosecute him with this, and then people who talk about it, they get threatened. The producer of this documentary, AJ Perez, got threatened. But you come to the conclusion at the end of this that like, yo, man, like, These guys, we talk about it, but they're just people. Like, you could basically say Brett Favre is just a dude from Kiln, Mississippi, who did the best he could. And somewhere along the line, the best he could turned him into a complete icon. And when you have that icon status, right, a 20-year NFL career, MVPs, a Super Bowl in Green Bay, right, for the first time since 1968, like, come on, that's Titletown. That is the biggest deal. And he was a fair-haired boy. Everybody loved him, and a nice guy, too. But obviously, like, some decisions that he made were really atrocious. And the last one about the welfare stuff is really awful. And, look, man, Brett Favre went after people. I think he sued Pat McAfee for talking about it. Yeah, he did. He's not going to sue me because he'll never see this. But I love Brett Favre. I want to love Brett Favre. But it's another example that, like, yo, these are people. And, like, when you put these guys on pedestals like that, like, you are setting yourself up to get disappointed. And, there still is, Favre still fights this. As far as the welfare scandal. But like, if that is true, which it looks like it could be, again, like a lot of evidence says it could be, that's like the bottom of the barrel, dude. To take money that's supposed to be allocated for people that are going through tough times, and to allocate it to a gym, that's bad news. And then also there was stuff that Favre was involved in business-wise, like something that would help players or athletes that had dealt with concussions. And apparently some of the money from the state of Louisiana was used to back that. I mean, there's just like some crazy stuff. And, I find myself, it's an internal like situation where I like don't want to accept that this could be true. I don't. Like, I am that sucker, dude. I am like, this guy is awesome because he's awesome at sports, and I want to canonize him and treat him like the king of the world. And it's just like, dude, it's, especially in this instance, it just doesn't seem like it's that's how it is. And again, like I met Brett Favre at a preseason game in 2000. I was with my buddy, Jim Nagy, who is now the general manager for Oklahoma football. And Jim and I were partying at the time, and we'd had something to drink. And Jim used to work for the Packers, so we're in the locker room. And Favre was so cool. And you could tell, like, at this point in time, he wasn't drinking. He's like, oh, I can tell you guys are going to have fun tonight. It was just like, oh, this guy's cool. And honestly, as somebody who ended up getting sober, right, 13 years ago, he was one of those dudes that I was like, if Brett Favre can do it, like, come on, man. Like it takes away the stigma. So a tough situation, a tough documentary. I will say it was not a documercial. If anything, it maybe favored Jen Sturger a little too much. But it was unfortunate to see, like, they show Brett Favre being inducted into the Hall of Fame and everybody is just loving this guy. And, you know, according to Jen Sturger, her career completely dissolved after this. And I'm sure, like, there's a lot of, like, trauma and stuff for her to have to deal with. I do say, and this may be an unpopular opinion, I mean, if she wanted to, whatever, this is like, again, like a dicey thing to say, but I think like if she was really, really good and really, really kept at it, I don't know that would have stopped her from being the best at her craft, but maybe it did. I don't believe, some people are like, well, what did she expect? She was in Playboy, she was in Maxim, like she had that sex appeal, like, nah, I don't buy that. Like nobody asked for that.
It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at 70 miles an hour. I was injured, had a concussion. The insurance company, they delayed. They were playing games from the initial conversation. They weren't going to help me. The biggest thing I learned through this is that you can't go through this alone. I called Daniel Stark. They were going to help me and everything was going to be all right. Daniel Stark got me 10 times the insurance company offered.
The difference is stark.